So the ATF just sent out an open letter to all FFLs, notifying them that force reset triggers are machine guns, and that anyone in possession of them is committing a felony. So let's talk about this. But real quick before we jump into this video, if you think the ATF needs to be abolished, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. So like I said in the intro, news has been circulating around today that the ATF sent out an open letter to all FFLs in regards to force reset triggers. In the open letter, the ATF is finally making the public declaration that under their interpretation, some FRTs are machine guns and subject to NFA restrictions like taxation and registration. In the letter, the ATF claims that any possessor of an FRT needs to contact them to receive further guidance on how they may actually divest possession of these items, because the ATF is essentially saying it's a felony for you to be in possession of these so-called machine guns. Now, I want to make the disclaimer that although I am a licensed and practicing attorney in the state of California, this video in no way is legal advice. If you are in possession of one of these triggers, I would highly recommend you contact an attorney in your local area to get further guidance. I just want to relay the information to you guys that's currently going on, because this does put a lot of people at risk who are in current possession of these triggers. Now, for those of you who are confused about what's going on, back in July of 2021, the ATF sent out a cease and desist letter to rare breed triggers. In the letter, the ATF claimed that in their eyes, the rare breed FRT-15 force reset trigger meets the NFA and GCA definition of a machine gun. Because of this, the ATF claimed the triggers were subject to registration, taxation, and possession restrictions like actual machine guns. Also, the ATF claimed that the possession of the triggers outside of the GCA and NFA restrictions would subject people to criminal penalties and fines. In the letter, the ATF told Rare Breed to cease and desist the manufacture and transfer of the triggers and to contact them so that they could figure out what to do with triggers that were already sold. This issue was not isolated just to Rare Breed. Soon after that, reports came out that the ATF also went after Big Daddy Unlimited and their WOT triggers under the same pretense and other triggers as well. Now, what's funny about all of this is I just put out a video yesterday discussing how 20 senators sent a letter to the ATF demanding that they answer questions on various things, but one of those issues was the ATF secret guidance on force reset triggers that they never have ever made public. Essentially, the ATF has been operating behind the scenes, calling these devices machine guns, but never publicly telling people what they actually are using to reach that determination and maybe what the implications of their interpretation actually is. Well, now we have an open letter from the ATF airing everything out about their tyrannical actions in going after these devices and anyone in possession of them. Now, let me read to you this letter from the ATF. The letter states, the ATF recently examined devices commonly known as force reset triggers, FRTs, and has determined that some of them are firearms and machine guns, as defined by the NFA, and machine guns as defined by the Gun Control Act or the GCA. These particular FRTs are being marketed as replacement triggers for AR-type firearms. Unlike traditional triggers and binary triggers, sometimes referred to generally as FRTs, the subject FRTs do not require shooters to pull and then subsequently release the trigger to fire a second shot. Instead, these FRTs utilize the firing cycle to eliminate the need for the shooter to release the trigger before a second shot is fired. By contrast, some aftermarket triggers have similar components, but also incorporate a disconnector or similar feature to ensure that the trigger must be released before a second shot may be fired and may not be machine guns. Both the NFA and GCA regulate machine gun. Machine gun is defined as any weapon which shoots, is designed to shoot, or can be readily restored to shoot automatically more than one shot without manual reloading by a single function of the trigger. The term shall also include the frame or receiver of any such weapon, any part designed and intended solely and exclusively or combination of parts designed and intended for the use in converting a weapon into a machine gun, and any combination of parts from which a machine gun can be assembled if such parts are in the possession or under the control of a person. ATF's examination found that some FRT devices allow a firearm to automatically expel more than one shot with a single continuous pull of the trigger. For this reason, the ATF has concluded that FRTs that function in this way are a combination of parts designed and intended for use in converting a weapon into a machine gun, and hence ATF has classified these devices as a machine gun as defined by the NFA and GCA. Accordingly, ATF's position is that any FRT that allows a firearm to automatically expel more than one shot with a single continuous pull of the trigger is a machine gun, is accordingly subject to the GCA's prohibitions regarding possession, transfer, and transport of machine guns. They are also subject to registration, transfer, taxation, and possession restrictions under the NFA. Under 26 U.S.C. Section 5871, any person who violates or fails to comply with the provisions of the NFA may be fined up to $10,000 per violation and is subject to imprisonment for a term of up to 10 years. Further, pursuant to 26 U.S.C. Section 5827, any machine gun possessed or transferred in violation of the NFA is subject to seizure and forfeiture. Under 18 U.S.C. Section 924A2, any person who violates Section 922 subsection O may be sent to prison for up to 10 years and fined up to $250,000 per person or $500,000 per organization. Based on the ATF determination that the FRTs that function as described above are machine guns, under the NFA and GCA, ATF intends to take appropriate remedial action with respect to sellers and possessors of these devices. Current possessors of these devices are encouraged to contact ATF for further guidance on how they may divest possession. If you are uncertain whether these devices you possess are a machine gun as defined by the GCA and NFA, please contact your local ATF field office. You may consult the local ATF office webpage for office contact information. So that is the open letter on force reset triggers that the ATF has sent out to various FFLs. Now, one big thing I want to point out in this letter, the ATF is interpreting some force reset triggers as machine guns because, in their own words, the subject FRTs do not require shooters to pull and then subsequently release the trigger to fire a second shot. Based on that, they say that any FRT that allows a firearm to automatically expel more than one shot with a single continuous pull of the trigger is a machine gun. Now, why am I reiterating that language that they used? Because the ATF is adding in language and terms into the definition of machine gun. Nowhere in the definition of a machine gun do you see that language of subsequently release the trigger to fire a second shot be used, or do you see that language of continuous pull of a trigger? The language the ATF is using to claim these triggers are machine guns is completely made up by the ATF to justify this ban and this attack on possession of these items. The actual language in the definition of machine gun says single function of a trigger, which the FRT does not meet because it is two functions of the trigger, i.e. being the pull of the trigger, which is one function, and then the force reset, which is that second function. So under the actual definition of what a machine gun is, these FRTs do not meet that definition of a machine gun, but under the ATF's made-up definition and made-up terms that they are using, they're saying that it does meet that definition. The ATF is not a lawmaking organization and should not be allowed to act as if it is. This is why myself and others were screaming at the top of our lungs when the whole bump stock ban issue kind of popped up. Many people in the gun community said, well, who cares about bump stocks? Those devices are dumb. Who cares if the ATF bans them? Well, this is why that mattered. Because during that bump stock ban, the ATF engaged in the same arbitrary reinterpretation process to make bump stocks actual machine guns. They use this same kind of bending of language, including of language, to claim that those bump stocks, those devices on their own, were actually machine guns. And that is exactly what the ATF is doing here as well with these triggers, what they're going to do with pistol braces, what they're trying to do with frames and receivers, and what they're also trying to do with solvent traps. So not a good day for the Second Amendment, but as we get more information, I will keep you all updated. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment down below and I'll try to answer to the best of my ability. Also, if you like this video and like support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm or fuel algorithm. It adds fuel to his jet and it signals to YouTube that you guys see value in these videos and in this type of 2A news. Again, I want to thank everybody who likes, comments, subscribes, who hits the notification bell, who shares these videos. You guys are directly impacting these videos, impacting this channel, and helping me to reach and educate and notify more people than I could have ever thought. So thank you so much for all of your support. So as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And never forget, this nation was built by armed scholars, and this nation will be maintained by armed scholars.